what's going on, everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys know this is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. After 2 years, we're bringing Daemien from Reddstar back to the podcast, talking about how the band got put on 3 Daemien Presents festivals in 2023, talking about the importance of putting your music out there and just taking opportunities as they come as a band, as an artist, and the importance of supporting your scene as well and being positive in it. Remember, WWSD, what would Sevendust do? Are you guys ready for this episode? Hell yeah, let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. This episode is not 1, but probably 2 years in the making at this point, as I had this guy on really around summer of 2021. It's 2023. About time we bring him and his band back on and talk all about it. They have been touring all over the United States, and even this year in 2023, it seems like they've got a lot of positivity and a lot of investment behind them too, because they not only played Welcome to Rockville, they're also playing 2 other Daemien Presents festivals in Large Life and Aftershock, going on a small run with Of Virtue as well to support Of Virtue's album release. And who else could be greater than that? I mean, come on, this is going to be awesome and all hell fun happening right now. So please welcome Daemien from Reddstar back to the podcast. So Daemien, welcome back.
Woo! That was a good introduction. That was dope.
Oh, I had to give the biggest introduction I could, and I really want to throw the DWP stuff in there, especially for those festivals, due to the fact that we have 2 of them coming up. And when I saw that, I'm like, you know what? This puts a smile on my face due to the fact that I will be at Louder Than Life, so I can finally see you guys get to play again. It's been too long.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's gonna be sick, man. Fucking yeah, I'm super hyped. Hold on one second. I'm just going to get a fucking drink real quick, man, because I'm just still trying to wake up real quick. So hold on 1 second, man.
Alrighty.
I know that's fucking very unprofessional of me, but I'm fucking... I just did 2 back-to-back shows. Like, I went to 2 shows, the back-to-back nights. So I'm just like... I don't know, the minute you did that introduction, I'm like, holy fuck, he's more awake than I am. I'm like, I need like at least some water or something just to fucking like get my gears going.
Oh, well, get some water, get awake and everything, because if you've been to like back-to-back shows and you just wake up at the same time too, we also have, you know, you guys going out on the road. You guys will be playing festivals at the same time too. Got to make sure you're awake and ready for that. This is the training day for that shit.
Yeah, man. Oh, dude. I mean, the last run we did, man, I'll say this. I got too good at drinking, dude. I got to, you know, because you just get in the pattern, you know? So, like, you get up, you fucking running off of no sleep, fucking, then you're driving to the venue. If you're hitting a gas station or whatever, you're probably picking up alcohol at the gas station because nobody wants to pay for the alcohol at the venue. And then we get there, and then it's just, you know, you go through the motions, man, and then it's just the routine, you know? I mean, shit, man, at Rockville, I was sick as a dog, man. Like, I was taking Motrin and stuff, like, on side stage, like, trying to keep my fever and everything down. And then, thank God, when we played, adrenaline kicked in, and it was just smooth sailing. The minute we were done, my body was like, oh, we're not performing? Shut down. I felt like shit. And then, but at a certain point, I'm like, dude, I'm at Rockville. Like, this shit is crazy. I don't want to take medicine. I want to fucking go drink, you know? So, like, as a responsible adult, I waited till after the time frame of, you know, when you normally would take, like, Motrin or something again. And after I was out of that time frame, I went to the open bar, because how are you not going to take advantage of that when there's an open bar for the artist, you know? So, yeah, man, I definitely, I got to get back to my routine because we're leaving to do all this stuff in a couple weeks.
Open bar for the artist, man. Why can't I get something like that? Just being like, hey, I'm a podcast, and I get the open bar too, because I don't want to have to pay $10 for a drink every time I'm at a festival. It can take a good chunk of change out of the wallet. But when it comes to Rockville, I mean, that's just one hell of a story in terms of putting yourself through, you know, even when you're sick, when you got a fever, how can you make sure that you're still putting on the best performance possible with the time that you have, with this opportunity that you have, and adrenaline just kicking in like Deadpool 2, just getting the collar ripped off. He's just like, oh, hello, superpowers. That's basically what happened right here. And then after, you know, you got off stage, it's just like, okay, we're done. Body, we're done. Out.
Yeah.
Cold.
Literally. It was I was like, of course, man. Of course I'm sick, like, for my first ever like festival. But again, luckily, once that adrenaline hits, man, you're not thinking about nothing. It's like, I mean, athletes talk about that shit all the time where they get hurt in games, and because of the adrenaline of the game, they're not even thinking about it. And then once the game's over, they're like, oh shit, my leg is sprained, or like my shoulder's fucking dislocated. Like, so I don't know. I definitely am happy that was a thing, but afterwards I felt like someone hit me with a brick. So
I've done that at concerts. I've done that playing soccer. The concert ones are crazy where it's just, I know the feeling where it's you're going in sick as a dog. It's like you don't really want to be there. All of a sudden, either you're going on stage, and from my standpoint, the band I want to see goes up on stage, and it's just like something kicks in my brain, and I forget that I'm sick for the next hour and a half. And then leaving the venue, like I'm in Chicago or something, like riding the train back to my car, all of a sudden, everything starts to come down. There goes that adrenaline, and I'm just thinking, this is the worst decision ever made my entire life. But at the same time, worth it.
yeah. Yeah, man. It's definitely the vibe to have, it helps you forget about whatever the fuck's going on in the moment, and you just are there, you're present, and it's definitely helps with taking everything in at that time. So, but yeah, long story short, I went to two shows, ironically at the same venue these past 2 days, because I know people that played on both tours, and then I fucking drank at both shows. So that's like my brain's a little foggy today, but
Brain's
you
a
know,
little, I'll say brain's a little foggy, but we're gonna get kicked right back into high gear and get you prepared to go back to these festivals, especially with you having Louder Than Life and Aftershock coming up. Now, I do want to ask about this because when it comes to being on festivals, of course, it's always great to be on festivals, but seeing that 3 out of the 4 major Daemien Presents festivals that are happening in 2023, that either happen or are happening, that you guys are a part of, how'd you guys get on all of these festivals? Because it shows a commitment to you guys as a band from the people playing on the best music festivals for rock and metal in the entire country.
yeah, man. I mean, I just have to say we're real fucking lucky, man. I mean that we just got really lucky. It helps that the channel that they have, the Space Zebra channel, they for Twitch, they kind of help open the door a little bit. So like I was like, hey, a place where I could send my band's music for free and they'll fucking play it to thousands of people fucking watching the stream. Of course I'm going to do that. And that opened a door, and then that led to me being friends with this girl Amanda that used to work for Danny Wimmer but was working for them at the time, and she fucking loved me, loved the band, and I didn't ask her for nothing, and fucking she straight up, next thing I'm finding out we're getting offered Rockville, and I'm like, sick. Then I don't know. Then I'll remember it like it was yesterday. I was in New York City around the holidays, when I was still living in Jersey, and I was, in Times Square, and I got the call, yo, we're getting added to Aftershock and Louder Than Life next year, and I'm like, what? No way, dude. I was like, what the fuck? That's so crazy. Like, and sure enough, here we are now. And we did Rockville. And I mean, again, it was so fucking surreal, especially because we were playing on a stage with like other big, like artists, like Ghostman was the headliner of the stage we played. And then like this band Angel Dust played, and this guy Swaco played. Like, it was such like it was just so sick to like be a part of that collective, amongst like the rest of the festival, But I definitely, it's really surreal that we're fucking playing this stuff, and for anybody who might have not seen it, but they did post set times and stages for Louder Than Life for the day we're playing, which is Sunday, with Green Day and fucking Turnstile. And we're playing the Revolver stage at 150. I need to make sure that everybody's there, because if anybody that was at Rockville fucking saw what we did there, they're going to see what the fuck we're going to do with this, and it's going to be fucking awesome. So definitely make sure you pull up and you're there for the time we play.
Okay, I'm glad that you put the plug in there as well, especially because when it comes to Louder Than Life, there's a lot of people that are always going to be there. It's usually like 35 to 40,000 in a given day. On top of that, when it comes to Sunday as well, when I saw the set times post, I was happy to see you guys on Sunday because when I was looking through, like, okay, what do I want to go see? I'm like, Sunday, there's not as many bands. I'm like, I really want to see all these. So there's not going to be as many like time, debates and time conflicts of, okay, do I see this band? Do I see this band? Friday and Saturday, I'm freaking screwed. But like Sunday, I was like, okay, Reddstar's on that day. All right. 150, perfect time, because by the time I walk in there, I've been partying in the parking lot already, having a good time. It's like, all right, who's the first band we're going to go see? Where's Kevin? He's probably gone somewhere. We'll find him later. And I'll be in probably either front row. If there's a pit that gets formed, it's going to be because of me. We're going to just have a blast and go, woo! But that'll happen on Sunday, December 24th, 1:50 p.m. Revolver Stage, Louder Than Life. You all better be there if you're going to Louder Than Life.
Hell yeah, man. It's gonna be fucking sick. And I saw that they just recently added a Sleep Theory to Sunday as well, which I'm totally gonna catch them. They're They're definitely one of my favorite like new bands. They're fucking so sick. So the fact that they just got added, I'll definitely be watching them play when we're there. So
Yeah, I found out they got added from my friend because I released my podcast episode with Cullen from Sleep Theory, and he's just sent me a message. He's like, dude, they got added to Louder Than Life, right? I was like, what the? Okay, now I'm seeing Sleep Theory on Sunday too. So if you're side stage or if you're in the crowd, you'll probably see me in the crowd, just same Brewers hat, same just dumb look on my face, just like I'm having a good time. Hi. Oh wait, there's a pit over there. I gotta hit people. Bye.
yeah. Yeah, no, they're so sick, man. I'm super hyped to know that we're playing the same day, so I'm gonna definitely be catching them for sure.
Perfect. And I kind of want to just jump back to what you were talking about. Just you guys got added to Rockville, and then you found out that you're getting added to Louder Than Life and Aftershock while you were in New York during the holidays in Times Square. If you didn't like throw your phone up in the air and snow was falling, you yelled it was a Christmas miracle. If you would have done that, I would have said we'd have the basis for a Hallmark movie. All we got to do is add, a couple different actors in there, add some weird love story in there, and we have the best Hallmark movie for 2023.
Yeah. Well, I was actually in the it's not gonna sound as cool. It's gonna sound a little nerdy. I was in the Nintendo store. They have like a big Nintendo store in fucking Manhattan, and it's super cool. So I was looking at video games and stuff. And then, out of all the things you could be doing, it's right next to the Rockefeller Center, which is like where everybody goes like ice skating, and shit. But yeah, I wasn't doing anything like super. I wasn't like at the bar, like fucking, I don't know, like doing some fucking cliche like cool shit. I was like, no, I was at the fucking Nintendo store being told I'm playing two massive festivals next year. So that's it's definitely more of like I guess you'd say more like a Peter Parker moment. Like I'm like the not so cool guy going to fucking do cool shit now.
Okay, so if you're in the Nintendo store and you found that if your reaction wasn't either a wahoo or a let's go, then I don't know what you were doing at that point in time, man. I mean, I know adrenaline probably took over, but that'd have been the perfect time to just film that and just have like this Super Mario moment all over the place. Yep, found out that we are playing all these great festivals while I'm in the Nintendo store. Yeah. Woohoo!
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's definitely, again, dude. It's fucking surreal. Like, and the fact that we're playing shit back to back, because a lot of people that played Rockville played Sonic Temple right afterwards, and like a lot of the people that I met, they were all like preparing to basically go straight from Rockville to that. So, and part of me's like, oh, that'd be sick, dude. Back to back festivals, and I'm like, oh wait, we are doing that, like, so we're like literally like the time frame from fucking Louder Than Life to Aftershock, it's a very small window, because it's literally the end of September and then beginning of October. So like obviously, like you mentioned earlier, like we're doing a bunch of shows. So like, and not to mention those Virtue shows, we're doing some shows with I Set to Kill, and we're doing a show in LA with Fame on Fire and Kingdom Collapse. And then we got a few other ones that are still like being fine tuned, but we're playing with a bunch of dope bands in between, and on the way to the next thing. So it's going to be fucking sick, dude. I'm really, really excited for all of it.
And a lot of it, especially just forming this piece of it, I'm not saying, the whole entire success of the band, but a lot of it when it came to just getting on these festivals was sending your music to the Space Zebra, making sure you got connected there, and just taking a chance on that. If you find something as a band where you're trying to grow, you're trying to get your name out there, and there's some place where people are listening to this kind of music and they're accepting submissions, why not send your music there? Because if it can only do one of two things. One, it gets played and people get to hear it, and then they get to form their own opinions about what they think of your music, that they can start to like it, and they start to listen to it more. Or, they don't play it, but if you don't send it in, then option 2 is the guaranteed result where they're just not going to play it because they have no idea who you are. Take a chance on something like that, because the more you take chances on things, the more chance you have to make a, impact, more chance you have to hit on something, and the more chance you put to hit on something, you hit on something, and boom, you guys played 3 festivals this year, and you have a whole entire just run built around Louder Than Life and Aftershock to really capitalize in on all of that and make sure that not only you get to play these festivals, but get to hit other markets as well and continue to make it worth your while.
Yeah, man. And again, dude, and like for like people listening, like, because they do like a contest, where it's like a whole bracket system where like the fans vote on like which bands they like. And we didn't win that shit, but we still got added, like so it's so like that's another thing that like people should definitely take away from it, is like, yeah, like you like quote unquote losing can deter people, but at the end of the day, like it's the people who, can like take something like that and keep moving with it, because again, you never fucking know. Like here I am thinking, oh, let's submit to try and, get added to this stuff. And fucking we lose, but then we end up getting added anyway because, that's just the way fucking things played out. So you never know, man. Like, so if like a band listening is like, oh, I'm gonna send my music in, but then they don't win like a slot, who knows that maybe one of the guys or girls that like work for the company aren't like, hey, like I actually really fuck with this band, like we should fill them in on this spot or this spot, So that's definitely like my advice to anybody that's like thinking like, how the fuck do I get on this stuff,
Yeah, because even in the same idea and the same mindset for bands that are putting their stuff into Space Zebra to be a part of these, these contests, and they don't win, you got to remember too, there's a lot of bands that are going to be on these festivals that at times are going to have something come up. There's going to be issues that happen, so certain bands are going to have to pull out at times. And if you're someone that is putting your stuff and submitting your stuff, and if you go through the contest, if you don't win, but you create this certain piece around it where people are getting behind the music, people are getting behind the band. And maybe, when you had to do a live performance on there, maybe maybe you just had audio trouble that day, or maybe just, the internet connection wasn't so great, so the stream didn't go so well. So instead of just seeing that as a loss, like there's a lot of people that might be like, hey, we really like their music. We like what they did. They had a little piece of bad luck, and the company might see that and say, hey, we had someone drop out. Let's put this band in here and see what they can do and take that chance. Bands that are taking those chances are the ones that are getting on these platforms. They're the ones that are getting on these festivals. I mean, if you take a look at a band like Silly Goose, who was playing outside of these festivals just to try and get some, and after different shows to get exposure. So now whenever a Danny Rivers Presents festival has an open spot they need filled, shit, usually they call Silly Goose first, and they end up showing up, and people end up showing up for them because they took a chance on something and made it happen. It's not necessarily just winning or losing. It's even when you potentially are going to lose on something in a contest, whatever it might be, you never know where your music can go from there in terms of just the idea of how many people heard it, who heard it, and who can have an influence over some of these decisions to get your band on certain bills that you've been trying to get on.
Yeah, man. And like you said, like Silly Goose is like a fucking perfect example, man, where like I watched a thing where like Danny Wimmer literally said like, yeah, I fucking was told by security that these guys were playing outside of the festival and I was coming to like shut it down. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is sick as fuck. Like, I actually can get behind this. And like you said, like they play a bunch of the fucking festivals and shit now. And it's like, just full circle moments like that, man. You never fucking know, anything could happen. And it's all about, like you said, you gotta take the chance, because if you don't and you just sit, and what if I did this? What if I did that? You're just gonna be in this what if land, you know, like you're better off fucking going for something and it not working out than just being like, I'm not gonna fucking even try, and then being like, but man, if I did try, what would have came out of that, you know? So it's definitely you. What's the famous quote? It's you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You know, I fucking live firmly by that.
Absolutely. Miss 100% of shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. Always got to throw that little bit in there for all the Office fans, because otherwise they're going to be like, hey, you forgot the funny part of it. However, it makes a lot of sense, not only for music, but for life as well. See the opportunities you guys have gotten and the ability that you had to get your music out to even more people by just trying and by putting your music out there, just by taking some of these opportunities. Did you win the ultimate goal at that time? No, but you're able to turn it into a positive at certain points, even from a life standpoint, from any decision that anybody might make. If you have an idea, if you want to try something, if you just hold back and continue to play the what if game, two things are a guarantee. One, it's not going to happen because you are not doing anything about it. Secondly, as you get older in life, as you get to a point in time where you can't do that anymore, you're going to be living with the regret of, I wish I would have maybe tried this, or I wish I maybe did this piece behind it. I wish maybe the band I was in, we could have gotten bigger. I wish you'd have taken these certain opportunities to try and get to this point in time. Think about that and see, okay, if you're wishing that at this point in time, maybe think about what you'd be thinking about this in 50 years if you did nothing. You just want to kick your own ass at this point. So instead of having your 50-year-old, 50 years from now, you mentally kicking your younger self's ass, why not just do it now so you don't have to go and do that? And if it doesn't work out, that's the key. You'll know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, and I'm, dude, I mean, I can easily say I'm fucking number one when it comes to failing a lot doing this stuff. Like, it's definitely, I feel like it in any, anything that you're trying to do in life, obviously certain things are easier than others, it's like, like the common, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like an example, like, like the idea of like, oh, I want to be a cop, or I want to be a firefighter, or I want to fucking work at a hospital. Like, it's like, those are like, what people would say are like more quote unquote realistic jobs. And it's because a lot more people know cops, firefighters, fucking nurses, like that's because it's a more common thing. But I feel like when you're chasing something that isn't as common, because not everybody knows somebody who makes money fucking doing music or makes money doing podcasts, and like that's their job, like that's how they fucking pay their bills. That's how they do everything. They think it's not realistic, or they don't think it's obtainable. And I've always been a believer in like, fuck all that. I think that you should always go and do whatever you think's going to make you happier. And there's going to be struggles, there's going to be hard times. There's going to be times where you're like, God, am I like wasting too much time on this? I'm like, am I losing too much money to where this isn't making sense anymore? But at the end of the day, man, I feel like there's points where life kind of hits you with stuff where it's like, oh no, like all that negative stuff, this moment that just happened is the reason why I'm still doing this. Like, and situations like, I'll give you a fucking perfect example. The last show that we did a run with this band Awake at Last and this band Discrepancies. And the very last show we did, it was in like, I forget, it was somewhere in the Midwest. I really can't remember the area, but we played there, never played there before. And that was the first show, and it was the last show of the run, but it was the first show of the run where there's people at it singing the songs back to us, and that is like moments like that, like where, whatever you could be having going on, whatever it is that might be a struggle, complimenting doing what we're doing as far as music goes, stuff like that, to me, man, to know that like the thing that I put so much work and time and effort into, people love it so much that they came to this show and they're fucking in my face, fucking singing this shit and screaming this shit. I'm like, dude, I don't give a fuck about anything else. Like that to me is like, oh, that's why I do it, because people love what I do as much as I love what other people do, and that's like such a fucking important thing, you know, to have in life for sure. I feel like I'm rambling about this. I'm going on this big motivational speech. I'm not even trying to, but
Hey, if the podcast turns into, motivational speech with Daemien from Reddstar, that's where it's going, and that's what we're gonna do with. And I understand what you're talking about when it comes to, you're using the example of, being a cop, a firefighter, being a nurse, or a doctor, where when it comes to getting to that point in time, there are going to be things that are going to be in your way. It's not going to always be easy, especially with the amount of schooling that has to go into being a doctor and some of the mental capacities and the mental struggles that you might have going through some of that stuff, given some of the stuff that they see. But I think it kind of in the same way where you're saying it's a little bit easier is because it's the path to get from where you are now to get to be in that profession is much, and the way to get to the success is much more defined than it is for someone that's in, a creative or for an artist space. Because you think about it, when it comes to being a cop, okay, you go to the police academy, you go through their set program, and if you pass that, you get to become a police officer. Firefighters, you go through their training, you go through everything there. Is it the easiest thing in the world? No, but there is a set parameter and the set gowns and a set path that you know of. Same thing with nursing, same thing with being a doctor, same thing with a lot of other those, practical or normal jobs that people end up having. And if you like that's fine. We're not knocking on that. But what you're saying too is when it comes to being an artist or having that creative side of things, you're so beholden to a completely different audience. You're so beholden to a different kind of structure where there's bands that have succeeded, and if you follow that band's exact model to a T, you're not going to succeed because you're not them. You have to find your own path through it. So that's where the difficulty comes in, because there is no set definition of how you get from absolute ground zero to success. There are a lot of things that are commonalities that you can do, but it's always going to be very different, even within those commonalities, within those principles in an exact space, from artist to artist, band to band, person to person, just based on, think about from the music perspective, the kind of music you're putting out, the bands that you're going out on tour with, the people that you're connecting with, how you're presenting yourself online, what the image is, how people can connect with lyrics. There's so many pieces that come around there where finding success in that, again, it is more difficult in the way where there is no set structured path to get from point A to point B.
Yeah. So you said it perfectly. I think that's more of what I meant was, it's like you said, it's a more defined path in those other fields. So it's definitely, I mean, obviously, as we're aware, nobody can just walk off the street and become a doctor. There's a lot of extensive schooling and stuff that you got to go to for that. But it's like you said, it's a more defined path where, if again, just reiterating stuff, the way I don't know, Korn might have popped off is way different than the way Guns N' Roses popped off, or Catch Your Breath has popped off recently, and it's a lot of that. So it's that's where it definitely comes as a big uphill battle for a lot of people, because they, like you said, they look at these people and are like, oh, that's how they did it. Maybe that's what I do, or maybe that's how you do it. But especially in our world, it's so ever changing. It's so there's just new ways that people are making it, new ways that people are getting discovered. Obviously, fucking Slipknot didn't get discovered on TikTok. You know what I mean? Shit like that. It's there's so many different ways that people are getting noticed or seen, and some people are in the fucking game for a while, and then just something happens, like Bad Omens, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Bad Omens has been around for a minute, but the last album fucking just blew them up completely. It's shit like that. Everybody has their own path. It's just knowing to stay on it, and fucking just keep pushing through it, because if you can't make it over the hurdles and the things that come at you along the way, then you're definitely not going to be able to handle the hurdles and the things that come at you further down the line, because that's one thing that a lot of people talk about, is how, yeah, in a certain sense, it gets easier, but there's also new challenges, as you keep moving forward. So definitely just staying the course and making sure that everything is aligned with how you want to make it happen.
Yeah, there's always going to be new challenges, and even kind of thinking back to, you brought up different bands, and we can talk about this as well, where, how Guns N' Roses got popular versus how Korn got popular versus how, bands like Fall Out Boy and Bring Me the Horizon got big in the, like, mid or late 2000s. What's happening now with bands like Sleep Token and Bad Omens? And it's, as time continues to go on, especially from a creative space, with how this art is delivered to the masses, there's so many different avenues, there's so many different impacts that culture has on it, to the point where, hitting on these certain aspects, it is a lot harder because, again, you don't have that defined structure compared to, okay, even when I'll use doctors as an example. Yes, again, it still is tough. We're not discounting that, given the work and given the amount of intelligence you need to have to be able to go through that. However, as technology changes, as we learn more about, the human body, as we learn more about how these things work, still, when it comes to learning all these new things, when it comes to success from becoming, from where you are now to being a doctor, even those nuances and those new things that come in there, they still fit into the set structure and the set path from point A to point B. When it comes to being an artist, it's, as time goes on, Guns N' Roses, say they started playing now and they tried to go the exact same way they would have done it back in the 80s. They would not be a success at all. If Korn wouldn't be able to do the same thing, Fall Out Boy wouldn't be able to do the same thing, Bring Me the Horizon wouldn't be able to do the same thing, just given how much culture, technology, and how art is delivered to people changes over time. Even from the music space too. Again, I'm gonna bring up culture, but it's taste at the same time. You think about the early to mid, think about the mid 2000s, pop punk, emo, absolutely massive. Then go to 2015. It was a completely different ballgame for pop punk and emo. Even think about, rock music, hard rock music. It was always super big, 70s, 80s, 90s, when new metal started to come in. All of a sudden, 2015, 2016, yeah, it's not necessarily that way anymore for an artist that is coming up in that exact same kind of style, where you have to learn so many different new ways to try and get your music out there. And your music might not hit. It's all based on, you're basically all beholden to the masses. You're beholden to the people. You're beholden to culture at that point. You're not beholden to a very specific rigid system that is much more defined and much more structured for you to get from point A to point B.
Yeah, 100%, man. And that's like, again, it's just why, like, I feel like, especially for like newer bands or newer people, like getting into any, creative field, it's just figuring out like what works best for you, and just how to capitalize on it, and how to but I feel like I was gonna say this, I feel like a lot of people are like, well, then how do I know when I have the thing that is gonna take me from point A to B? But it's like, you kind of just do, like you see it, you see how people react to it, you see how people fucking buy into it. It's like, it's any facet. Like, I'll use the guy as an example. Like, there's like a comedian like Bert Kreischer, like that guy like takes his fucking shirt off on stage every show. Like, that's his thing. Did that like blow him up? No, it was his specific bit that he has. But it's like, that's what he's known for. And it's like how, like, now Mudvayne is like touring again, and they're doing the whole fucking look that they used to do before they stopped doing it for a while. Like, now they're back to doing the face paint and the whole fucking get up again, because that's what people really remember them from. So it's just, you never know, man. You really never know. But but when you do have it and you see people are like, yes, we need this, we want this, fucking, that's how okay, now I gotta just drill it home.
Yeah, and I think even the guys in Sleep Theory are a great example of this. When they dropped their first song, and all of a sudden on TikTok, just the teaser blew up, and they thought, okay, now we got, we have this song at the ready. It's not supposed to come out for another month, but let's put this shit out right now. And just learning how TikTok works, understanding how their music connects with the audience, that's really one of the things that helped them blow up. And of course, that's not going to happen for every band. Even take a look back and, drop it back, when Bring Me the Horizon was just coming up, and they were, doing everything they could on MySpace to get this stuff going. They figured out what was going to be that thing for them. They found the thing, and you found it through a calculated method of trial and error, where it's something, you're not trying to throw everything at the wall and hope something sticks. Because if you try and do that, you're going to burn yourself out. It's, okay, this is what we did the first time and it didn't work out. Now figure out why it may have worked out in a certain capacity, why it didn't work out, and then change it up and try something new, but understand where things are going at that point. Using the reaction as your own analytics, because if you're getting a positive reaction, okay, build on it as an artist, because you're seeing a positive reaction from a potential fan base, from an audience that might not know you. So how do we capitalize and keep bringing that positivity towards them and continue to build up on that? If all of a sudden you do something, you're bringing some negativity around, okay, stop that immediately so you don't keep building up on that. If people are connecting with all of a sudden crazy face paint, if people are connecting with a band going up on stage looking like absolute like demonic creatures from hell and spraying the crowd with blood and, bile colored water and are having a success with it, fucking go with it. See what happens. You could become the next Guar and tour for 40 plus years with that same style just because, hell, it's cool. You never know. But when you have that moment when something hits, you feel it, you know it, even from the podcast side as well. I want to bring on as many bands as possible, but there was one time I took a chance on one band this year. I had a reaction video and someone said, check out this band. I looked at it, I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. Why not? Band was called Voice of Bechaprat, and 3 girls playing metal from Indonesia. I said, I don't even know who this is, but let's just see what happens. Why not? First episode I did with them had over 20,000 views. And then I saw them live in the US and I just took a chance. I said, it'd be kind of cool to do a live interview if they're here. We did it. And that episode had over 30,000 views. I'm just like, well, shit, I took a chance on something. Now I've got ideas of potentially where to go next, trying to get other guests in the podcast as well. Continue to also bring on the guests I want to bring on too. So there's a lot going in there, but it's like when you find that one thing that hits, okay, focus in on it and figure out how you can continue to drive on that to continue to build that positivity for your art, and so that you can continue to do this forever and ever and ever and ever and ever.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, 100% for sure.
Man, we just went through like full on artist, pump everybody up and motivational speech, but also at the exact same time, rather practical advice too.
Well, I hope the advice is practical. I'd feel I'd feel like a piece of shit if I was like, oh, let me fucking tell people what not to do, or tell them fucking the way to fuck up their career, like I'm like some diabolical fucking villain or some shit,
Absolutely, because if you were doing that, then it would just bring the music scene down. It would bring you guys down. It would just make it even worse off for everybody. But if you're continuing to, focus in on, okay, we're doing this stuff, we're doing a great job at it, we're really starting to pick up a lot of traction with everything we're doing. So if we're going to talk about this stuff, let's help other people out with it. All of a sudden, maybe another band comes up behind you, but ends up getting a moment that's even bigger than yours and just ends up taking and running with it. Now all of a sudden, they're getting more notice. They're going to find all the bands that influence them. They're going to hear Reddstar, and then you guys are going to get more notice. It's kind of like that rising tide raises all ships mentality.
Oh yeah, man. And plus, like, dude, another thing is a lot of people are very like gatekeepy, and I fucking always hated that, man. It's like, because you always notice that the people that are like higher up, they're not so much like that. They're like, a lot of them, they're like, hey, like, you do this tour, we'll do your tour, or fucking you jump on a song of ours, will fucking switch off on the other side. And it's like, it's not so much like that up top. It's more like the come up. There's a lot of people, and I get it to a sense. A lot of people are scratching and clawing their way, but it's like, it's just a way to like also make you want to disassociate with others too, because it's like, hey, like, I'm not, you don't want to, you're not trying to use people, but obviously any advice helps, and anything, anything at all fucking definitely helps anybody out. So I definitely, any knowledge that I have, even as somebody who might not be at the place that I want to be at yet, I definitely rather share it than be like, nah, it's all mine, I'm not fucking telling you shit. So that I definitely rather be like that anyway.
And when it comes to just younger scenes, and when it comes to all those up and coming bands, it's getting away from that gatekeeping mentality. But it's all this change that starts at the individual level. And I recently had a conversation with a band from Australia, and you see Australian heavy music. It's, why are so many great bands coming out of Australia, and why are we hearing about so many of them? And it made sense to the point where, as a country, they're isolated to, pretty much one side of the country and 4 major cities, and that's it. So when it comes to trying to get bands out to the Europe, get them out to the US, okay, how are they going to be able to do that to help support them? You got to have that grow as a team mentality. You got to have that family mentality. And it's shown to be absolutely massive where we're seeing, we saw Parkway Drive, Amity Affliction, North Lane, those bands grow. And we're seeing bands absolutely blow up massively like Alpha Wolf, Void Division, Polaris. I know I'm missing Make Them Suffer, Thornhill, just so many more that are coming up. It's in the US too. It's what if we were doing all of that at the exact same time too? What if a lot of people, not only at the top where you're saying, if you do our tour, we'll do yours, kind of have some of that camaraderie there. You want to be featured on one of our songs, we'll feature on one of your songs, build it up that way. But at the exact same time, it's from a come up standpoint, it's why can't we have that same mentality too, to have this so supportive thing where even though bands are trying to scratch and claw and grow, why don't we scratch and claw together as a team to try and take over, and the same standpoint, music as a whole in terms of pop culture, instead of just trying to scratch and claw within these very specific areas and these very specific scenes and these very specific genres. Just, again, the rising tide raises all ships mentality. Why can't we just focus in on that?
Yeah, man. And I think it's just like, I don't know if it's like fear, but I think people are just like afraid of like, oh, what if they get further than I do, or what if they do better than we do, and it's like, it's a very strange thing to me, man, but it's just something that I've noticed a lot over time. And it's definitely something that I try not to do. I'm like, dude, listen, man, I'm the type of person where even if like I'm not even into your music, I'll still fucking support it. I'll still show up. I'll still share it, because if you pay me that respect, I feel like the least I can do is do it in return, and I feel like that's the way it should be. There's too many people that are like worried about like, maybe like people won't fuck with me because I shared like a song that might not be the best thing ever. It's like who gives a fuck, man? At the end of the day, like if I'm friends with somebody or I'm cool with somebody and they fucking support me, I feel like that's the minimum. It's like, because you'd want to fucking at least return the favor or give that respect, and at the same time, it's like, if they're fucking being supportive and then you're turning around and being like, I can't share your thing on my story, or I can't repost it or anything. It's like, I mean, I don't see the issue, it's like, I'm not like, you're not even asking for money. It's like, you're fucking literally just saying like, yo, fucking just share this, or, hey, can you repost this, or fucking whatever. It's like, it's a free thing. And I don't know, a lot of people are just fucking weird at the end of the day. So I try to not be like that. I try to be very supportive, especially when fucking people are supportive of me, because I know what it's like to not have that fucking support. And you know how it is, man. Fucking, of course, we announced 3 festivals. Fucking people are coming out of the woodwork. I mean, fuck, dude. Realistically, like, it's just, and it's the way it is. I'm sure, again, like Sleep Theory, like Catch Your Breath, Dark Divine, all these like newer bands that are popping off, like I'm sure a lot of them are fucking going through the same shit of just like, people like coming out of the woodwork to hit them up, and now they want to work with them. Now they want to do shit. Now that, but it's, at the end of the day, you can definitely see the snakes through the grass, and, but you also learn to read people quickly and well, so that, like, oh, this person's here with like genuine intentions, or this person seems like they're just here because they're trying to get something from me. So it's just definitely having the right mindset, when it comes to all of this.
Oh, absolutely. And I got to think for 2 things on that. One, all the bands that you keep mentioning, you mentioned Catch Your Breath, Sleep Theory, Dark Divine. My biggest problem hearing about these, I'm like, man, we're talking about all these great bands that are on the upcoming. I'm like, I've had all these guys on the podcast, and I've got to be able to like have conversations with them, chat with them, get to know them too. And it's something where I've got to know them before they started getting this pop up. I'm like, you know what? Keeping the mentality of, even though I want to get some of those biggest bands ever on the podcast, I want to talk to them as well, of course, because those are some of the bands I absolutely love. Hell, if I get Rise Against in the podcast, yeah, that's a pretty big band, but you're going to hear me go absolutely ape crazy with the fact I'm like, I finally get them on, yeah, all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to just to continue to support that younger, the younger artists, the upcoming ones, we continue to support them and, grow them. What's going to happen? All of a sudden we get those viral moments. We get those moments where bands hit and they continue to just grow and grow. And the next generation of rock and metal fans have bands that they can latch onto and continue to grow, because you know, between like in the 2010s, there was always, it seemed like there was like this dead space there because of how little support there was in terms of pop culture. Now it's like, okay, people are back behind Bring Me the Horizon. People are behind Bad Omen, Spirit Box, Sleep Token. Let's keep this moving. Let's keep this rolling. And when it comes to just those scenes where it's like, you know, I understand where people are like, oh my God, I don't want them to get bigger than me. I understand that there's a competition feeling in us as humans, but ask yourself this question. It's not WWJD, it's WWSD. What would Sevendust do? Think about it from this aspect. When you think about the biggest metal bands, especially right now, no one's going to say Sevendust. It's not going to happen. But when you hear bands talk about like, okay, well, who's your favorite band to go on tour with? Who's your favorite band to go? How many people are saying Sevendust? How many people have so many positive things to say about that band? Bands want to go and tour with them. There's bands that are even afraid to go and like play after them because there's always moniker, you can't follow Sevendust. But I've talked with LJ before, even talked about, okay, you know, you guys are on these festivals, you guys should be headliners with how many people you're pulling. They're like, dude, we love the middle of the day because we get to go then and watch our friends and support them too. It's that kind of mentality that's going to help grow everybody within the scene. It's if everyone has that like Sevendust style mentality of supporting the bands that are around you, continue to help uplift everybody and create such this positive reaction in people's minds whenever they hear your band's name. Yeah, that's what you want. And that's what's going to not only help your band grow, but help the scene and the music genre that you're with in general grow as well.
Exactly, man. Yeah. And again, like, and, you know, I ironically, this guy Sahaj, who he's produced like a lot of our music. We talked about that last time.
Mm-hmm.
He, you know, he's good friends with LJ, and, you know, and same deal. It's like you learn that, like, especially like I've noticed too, when I'm slowly like working into like these circles, because you start to realize like how small of a world it is in like this music world. And it's like, to me, it's always a good sign when like a lot of people are like, oh, like I'm friends with this person, or oh, I know this person. And then like everybody just happens to be cool and friends with each other. And it's like, that to me always is like a good sign of like, oh yeah, that person probably is a fucking good person, because we're all cool with the same people, you know. And like you said, I've never heard a bad thing about Sevendust ever. And I mean, it was even surreal to me when, like, again, because like when I first started working with the band, you know, LJ was actually like coming over to Sahaj's place like after we were done with our sessions, you know. And it was just like, I don't know, like little surreal moments that I'm like, oh, I'm like working with these people that are working with these people, like that's cool, you know. But yeah, I've always loved Sevendust shit anyway, but they're definitely a band that I've never heard a bad thing about ever.
No, absolutely. And even like the stories I've heard some of these crazy stories where it's at any point in time, you think anything could have gone the other way, but it's just, okay, what band was the one that ended up having this happen where they just were trying to make it as best as possible for the situation? And it's always like, yep, it's Sevendust. Who'd have thought about it? But it stands as like, even though they're not the biggest band, there's bands that they know that are around them that have risen higher than they have. At the exact same time, it's a lot of the reasons why a lot of these bands might continue to grow is based on, you know, the positivity that they're seeing in the scene, the positivity they're seeing within the bands are working alongside continue to grow. And if you're putting out positivity like Sevendust, all of a sudden you're seeing these massive tours go out, and it's, yeah, you see Sevendust is on the bill and people are packing it in for Sevendust, even if Sevendust is not the headliner that night. Even at festivals, I saw this at Welcome to Rockville last year. Sevendust played at like a 4 p.m. slot, and the people at DWP, they basically made Sevendust a midday headliner. Like they had no one else playing at that time, so everyone was over watching Sevendust. It was one of the coolest things, and it's just, well, now everyone gets all the rest of the stuff to go and see throughout the day. And even from Sevendust standpoint, yeah, they get to go and watch all their friends play too. They get to go support them as well. If you're in a younger band, and even if you're not in the spot you want to be right now, continue to show support for your local scene and support for your regional scene, national scene, whatever it is, and continue to grow that positivity can only help you out.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, like, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I don't want to be a fucking headliner, you know. But in the same instance, I'm like, the thing I like about playing earlier because I'm very big on like being stone cold sober before like I play. Like I just like to be very tight and polished. So like I don't touch anything, you know. I don't do a shot, I don't drink a beer, nothing. And then after I'm done, I'm like, okay, like I don't know, I treat it like a job. Like I'm not gonna show up drunk to work, you know what I mean? So it's like, why am I gonna do it on stage, you know? And some people might have different opinions on that, but afterwards, I'm all good. I'm like, all right, I got the job done. Let's go have a beer. Let's go have a fucking drink, you know? So at least like if we're playing early, I'm like, okay, great. I can play, do what we got to do. Now I can hang out. But for like headlining or playing later, I'm like, I gotta just hang out. And it's like, you know, obviously tempted because everybody's, you know, that's the environment. But I'm very strict on that. So like, I feel like when those days come, I might be a little boring because I'm like, oh nah, but we gotta headline, dude. We gotta play an hour set, hour and a half set. I gotta be up there with just water, man. You know, so that's where I would also compliment playing earlier. I'm definitely not mad at, you know, because like you said, you at least then you know you could play and then you could go watch other people and stuff, which is definitely what obviously I'm gonna do at these festivals. So I'm definitely hyped for it.
Yep, and you got two of them coming up again, Louder Than Life and Aftershock as well. And for all those listening, if you're going to Louder Than Life, make sure you see Reddstar on Sunday, September 24th. Make sure we can get that pit going too, because when you see the weird guy wearing a Milwaukee Brewers hat walk into the pit, you know it's on because you know Kevin's going to have some fun today.
Yeah, and man, I tell you what, too, I can't, I don't think I can say anything because they haven't announced it, but I found out what our stage is and our set time for Aftershock. And dude, to see the stage that we're playing, it doesn't even make sense to me. Like it really does. Like I don't want to say anything past that because I don't want to get in trouble, but like it's fucking nuts, dude. I mean, just the fact that even at Louder Than Life, we're not like playing the smallest stage. Like we're playing like a fucking pretty decent sized stage, like we did at fucking Rockville, which was still massive, you know, to at least to me. And it's gonna be fucking sick, dude. I can't. I'm just hoping that I'm like in my head. I'm like, all right, what got me sick before that? I'm like, all right, maybe not sleeping as much, maybe eating some bullshit late at night. I'm like, what do I got to do to be not sick at this next festival so I can enjoy it a little more, just a little more? Because I still had a great time, but obviously, again, like my body, I was just shut down, dude. But again, like I said, obviously, I didn't want to mix like taking like a fever reducer and alcohol, so I was like, all right, the minute that fucking I'm out that window, I'm at that bar, man. I'm there and I'm hanging out. I can't just sit here, you know? So that's my big thing. I'm gonna just make sure I do whatever I gotta do to not get sick beforehand.
So Damon's gonna make sure he doesn't get sick before any of these festival shows coming up to make sure that we can have the best show possible from Reddstar, and then that he can enjoy the whole entire experience and not have to worry about a fever. And as much as I want to know where you're playing at Aftershock, what stage, all the bands on there, I don't want you to get in trouble, and I would love to continue to push on that, so I'm going to go like this. As we bring this podcast to its conclusion, so we don't accidentally say things that were not announced yet, always want to give you a chance to whatever you want to say, plug if you want to plug, promote the end of the podcast. So Daemien, the floor is yours.
Everybody, if you don't know, if you haven't seen our previous interview, we are at Reddstar Music on everything. Keep a lookout. We might be putting something out before we leave for tour. We might not. I don't know. Maybe I'm just giving Mr. Kevin the exclusive here. But we and in the midst of that, we may or may not be putting that out and maybe be playing something, that is what we're putting out in the set. So that's more of a reason to come out to, be the tester to see if we keep that in the set or not. But yeah, Reddstar Music and everything. Keep a lookout on the streaming and fucking we're gonna be announcing a nice little tour flyer with all the shows that are coming up. So that way everybody can see where the fuck everything's gonna be at. Because I know it might look a little crazy. We have like a million tour flyers because we're playing with so many different bands. But yeah, stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. And now it's time for the podcast with 3 things. So what's the best way to stay tuned with all this stuff? Go to the description of the podcast where it says find Reddstar online, links, labels for social media, YouTube, website, merch, music. Everything is going to be down there and labels as well, so you do not miss out on anything. And you can go and see them if you're going to be there at Louder Than Life, at Aftershock, or during their shows with A Virtue, I Set to Kill, or with Fame on Fire and Kingdom Collapse. So yeah, I had to put all that in there, but it's all down in the description of the podcast too, so make sure you go there. Now it's time for number 2. Daemien, last minute of the podcast, and I saw you play live for the first time. I made you a promise of first rounds on me, and I made good on that promise. Now, at Louder Than Life this year, let's run it back and do it again.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah, let's do it, man.
And possibly enjoy a nice brewski while we watch Sleep Theory.
Oh yeah, dude, 100%. Yeah. Well, I'll be singing. We'll be singing together. We'll be singing all the hits.
Oh yeah, we will. We'll be having a blast with it too. So I will see you there, sir. And on that note, I cannot end this podcast by saying goodbye because 1, I always want to have you back on the podcast, so this will not be your last time, sir. On top of that, I'll see you on the 24th of Louder Than Life, and if you're all going to Louder Than Life too, make sure you're going to be there to go see Reddstar on Sunday the 24th. So Daemien, this can't be goodbye, my friend. This is, I'll see you later.
Peace, man.
Well, folks, this is my interview with Daemien from the band Reddstar. Now it's time for Kevin's final thoughts. So, it goes back to WWSD. What would Sevendust do? Taking a look at what Reddstar has done, they're just trying to take the opportunities that are available to them and maximize out on them, but also make sure they're continuing to bring positivity every step of the way. Because when we think about it, when it comes to rock and metal, how many times do we hear from gatekeepers, rock is dead, rock is dead, rock is dead? And we talked about this on a podcast with Rick from Adelita's Way, where it's, the fans are the ones that are bringing it back. The fans are the ones that are not letting it die. And it's continuing to grow with the emergence of bands like Spiritbox, Bad Omens, Sleep Token, Catch Your Breath, Sleep Theory in the last couple of years. Now, kind of going back to what we had with Waitlist from Australia, if you guys are able to check out that one, we talked about the Australian metal scene and how they are isolated in Australia. So if bands want to be able to tour internationally, go over to, Europe and to come to America, their local scene has to support them and has to focus being a team. And being that team mentality is what's helping them continue to grow and thrive and really become, a place where when we think Australia, we think great heavy music. Now, think about America as well. Reddstar is doing that as what best they can on an individual basis, where they're focusing in on what is able to be done. They're focusing in on how they can continue to build this stuff up and how they continue to take these opportunities and bring positivity to wherever they're playing, whoever they're playing, and having that connection there, because that's going to help build this scene up. If we can take that mentality, remember WWSD, what would Sevendust do, and bring that positivity to the whole entire scene, we could have that time where culture is going to change and rock and metal music are going to be the most prominent genres once again. Make sure you check out Reddstar. Again, their brand new song, Run It, which is in the bottom of the video if you watch the whole entire interview. But their new song, Run It, will be available by the time this episode releases. So go and check out brand new songs from Reddstar. On top of that, they're playing festivals, Louder Than Life, Aftershock. Make sure you go see them if you're going there, as well as check them out on their live runs with I Set to Kill, a couple shows of Fame on Fire, and Kingdom Collapse, along with the A Virtue shows. Oh yeah, go and check it out. All information for them is in the description of the podcast below. Social media, website, everything is down there for you. Easy findings, easy clickings, easy subscribing. Also, make sure you're following the Chord Progression Podcast. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Links to the top of the cast. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button right down here. New episodes every single Tuesday and Thursday. Clips throughout the week and Friday reaction videos for y'all. If you're on, Spotify Podcast at Radio, hit that subscribe button as well. Hit that like button, or you get the like button right down here on YouTube to help push these episodes and these videos in the algorithm. I really would appreciate it. I want to thank you all for your support. Thank you, Daemien. I'll see you at Louder Than Life, my man. Hope to see you all there too. On that note, that's going to be for you guys. Thank you for watching, listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one. I'm the big, healthy, and hearty. See y'all!